Perryn Olson, how are you?
Doing well, Ryan. How about you, man?
Doing good. We meet again.
Yes.
It's freaking awesome.
It's always fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So you want to jump right in and give us today's topic, and we'll just get started.
Yeah. So kind of nicknamed this one the David versus Goliath. Most people probably listening here are the Davids, the smaller contractors competing with some of the mega contractors. And one of the things when we pushed out the construction SEO report, we used the ENR 400 top contractors list as our benchmark in our survey study. Only some of the people are like, well, what about me? I'm only 100 million. So, well, we were curious, what about them? And some of our clients are more that size too. So
Mhm.
we went and found $100 million ish contractors, because annual revenue fluctuates and it's hard to verify that. So we went and did a lot of
Mhm.
research and found, companies that are around that 85 to 115 million range
Mhm.
to go
Mhm.
find that and built a list. And then we did the same exact research we did with the ENR 400, and we really just,
Mhm.
you know, what is the difference? So we have some benchmarks that we can talk about. We have an infographic that we put together. We call it David versus Goliath. But even more so, because we can have more of a discussion today, is more like, where does David beat Goliath? Where do they use that little slingshot that hit him in the
Mhm.
eye? Like,
Mhm.
because they don't have the massive budgets.
Mhm.
A lot of the contractors we talk to potentially have a smaller marketing budget than just the salaries that some of these mega contractors are paying the marketing team, let
Sure.
alone the spending money that they can do on ads and all the other
Right.
tools and resources. So,
Right.
so I think let's kind of walk through a little bit of the results of our research, and we'll share the infographic in our show notes and stuff like that. So I think,
That and also subscribe to our Substack.
yeah, Substack is a great way to get all this
Look
information. We
us up.
share
Look
that
us up.
actually
Alt
early.
CMO.
Yeah. Um, so one thing we did was, besides just benchmarking, 100 million dollar contractors against the ENR 400, what we actually did was took the top 50 of the ENR 400, the mega contractors,
Mhm.
and then compared the top 50, the overall 400, and then our 100 million. It was very interesting to kind of see. So we knew a couple of things that when we knew the mega contractors would win out in backlinks, which then was a big
Mhm.
driver for domain authority. So,
Mhm.
you know, and it was no surprise, but it was also interesting kind of where the other starts kind of. So backlinks, the mega contractors were averaging 23,568 backlinks
Mhm.
compared to our $100 million contractors, 382.
Correct.
I think some of you probably surprised. Well, 382 is actually pretty good for a lot of the $100 million contractors, and it really is. And our benchmark for that ENR 400 was 1765.
Yeah, in the
So
last couple of months, we've taken one of my clients. When we first started with them, they had 90, and they just
yeah,
surpassed 638,
yeah,
uh,
it can
and
go quick.
leapfrogged over a couple of pretty big
Yep.
competitors in the space. Now they've got a bigger backlink
Yeah.
situation, and we didn't buy it or do anything.
No, they're trying. Like, that's part of it. You're trying, and I think this is the client that won some awards too.
Oh yeah, they won some awards,
Yeah.
and that provided some, like Inc. 5000 and
Yeah.
50 fastest growing and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
that obviously did a lot of boosting.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
and I've talked to a few people about it. I think with AI and the intelligent AIs, we're actually seeing kind of a boom and the need for public relations, like good old PR and just award submissions and things like that, because it's building, not say literal backlinks, but it's building a reference and
topic
credibility point.
topic
So,
authority.
yeah, we've definitely talked about
We're going
topical
to talk
authority,
about
and
that. We'll talk about it a little bit more today because it's
yeah.
relevant to this and everything
Oh
else.
yeah. Oh yeah. That is definitely what we're going to talk about today. So besides the backlinks being just huge for the mega contractors, and okay for the smaller contractor,
Mhm.
the 100 million are probably a lot of local regional contractors. So
Mhm.
so that then spurred into the domain authority. Our benchmark for the ENR 400 was 32. That top 50 of them, the mega, 46. So
Mhm.
even they were the ones keeping that 32 up, and our $100 million contractors was 26. So I mean, a 20
Mhm.
point difference in domain authority is a huge difference.
It's a huge
You
leap.
know, it is a scale from 1 to 10, but the higher you go up that mountain, as we call it, the harder it is to go up. The
Mhm.
companies, just for reference, in the 90s are like ESPN, New York Times, because it's all this content, all
Yeah,
these links,
you're not
all
gonna
these
ever.
socials. Like
You're never
you,
gonna touch that.
correct. Even in this
But you don't have
industry,
to. You don't have
you
to
don't
win.
need to. Even the best, like the biggest companies in the world, like AECOM, I think was a 72 domain authority, and that's one of the best we've seen. There's a
Mhm.
big engineering firm, SOM, was a 78. Like they have a lot of links, a lot of authority in what they're doing. They've done a lot of work to do that. So
Hmm.
even out of those mega contractors, there's a 46 domain authority. It just if you haven't noticed previous, domain authority essentially is the metric score from 1 to the 100 or 99 really that says how likely you are to rank on any search term. So
Hmm. Yeah.
if you go search any term, essentially the top ranking site for that keyword has the highest domain authority. There's always some things that are a little different because the search terms is specific. They might rank a little higher, but this is an overall score for your overall website. So it's a good benchmark to
Hmm.
go evaluate.
Hmm.
What was interesting was with the two side. Our mega contractors on the spam score had a 3, and our $100 million contractors also had a 3, which is good. I was a little concerned on that one that those backlinks potentially could be very toxic and hurt you because not all
Hmm.
backlinks are good.
Yeah.
But what was really cool was actually where the little guy, our David's in this story, started beating up on the mega contractors was on speed. So
Hmm.
in particular, they were very close to the ENR 400 benchmark, but the mega contractors actually have slower sites, which is really interesting.
Hmm.
So desktop speed, the mega contractors scored a 72, and our $100 million contractors scored a 76.
Yeah.
Marginal there, it's only 4%, but it is an advantage, and it
But
is
it's good
something
to
that
showing
helps.
that
Yeah,
they're not getting beat up on that one.
yeah. And then on mobile, about the same. Mega contractors 54, our $100 million contractors 57. So there's a little bit more speed advantage. Google does prioritize speed. We're seeing AI is doing something similar. We haven't had as much research essentially on AI because it's so new, but
Hmm.
we know they do like clean, technically built SEO or technical SEO websites just because it helps their system, their resources. We've all heard how many resources AI now takes.
Hmm.
So they like clean websites, and speed is a big part of that. So
Hmm.
that's where essentially, so kind of a quick recap, the bigger contractors, no surprise, just dominated backlinks and domain authority.
Hmm.
But our $100 million contractors actually edged out the big guys on desktop and mobile speed. So
Yeah.
kind of thinking of that, let's go talk. You kind of teased up earlier, like where can the Davids in our story, be on the topical authority? Where can they go with that, Brian?
Yeah. So if you look at a lot of the mega contractor websites, yes, they have a lot of backlinks, which obviously hits super heavy
Yeah,
in SEO. Has forever, probably will continue. AI is changing the game a little bit, but I mean,
yep,
backlinks are always going to be important. But if you look at most of the websites, they're getting all of their authority, domain authority, from backlinks.
yeah,
Typically, the pages within those sites, if you really go look at the mega guys, they don't, a lot of them don't have blogs. They do have like their awards page, they have their
yeah,
teams, they have their services, they have their projects, and all kinds of stuff. But interestingly enough, they're not writing a lot of thought leadership content.
oh,
And
and if they are, it's super broad, and it's actually their broadness makes things generic, which actually hurts topical authority because there's no density to it.
well, yeah, I was just, I was with one of my clients and we were just curious. We were waiting on a meeting to start and
Yeah,
I was in person and we were just curious, like, what some of the huge players in their space, when we were building out my client's website, we were looking
yeah,
at, you know, some of the huge guys in their space and what they had. And we went through several and
hmm
everybody was surprised. They were like, these guys don't have a blog at all. Like,
no,
they've got their projects, their services, they've got their team pages and everything else that you would expect. But in reality, there's no thought leadership content on there. They truly are just being cited. They're getting all those backlinks because they're doing prestigious projects. And when you do a
yes,
prestigious project in, let's say, Dallas, Texas, you've got everybody, the news
yes,
outlets, CBS, ABC, NBC, linking
yep,
back to that project and linking back to the different contractors and all of that. So they're getting all of that beautiful free
yeah,
just PR, which equals to backlinks, right? So they've been able, because of this, the prestige of their projects, they've been able to naturally and organically gain domain authority.
yep,
Whereas the David has to work, right?
yes,
But the way, so I'm going somewhere with this for all
yeah,
you guys out there that are in our target market. I'm going somewhere with this. So just today, really, OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, announced their new browser. Their new
yeah,
browser is completely AI focused browser. They're literally going head to head with Google. They're
hmm
they're they're trying to go against Google Chrome. They are implementing AI agents into their browser to help with all kinds of tasks.
Yeah.
They're obviously going to probably prefer really good LLM allowed content.
Yep.
So one thing happened here, and I'm going somewhere with all of this. That browser is going to become highly, highly popular.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
That browser, we don't know yet exactly how OpenAI is going to treat search
Correct.
totally. They may not put as heavy of an emphasis on backlinks. They
Yeah.
they most likely, because they're driving this force, they're most likely going to put emphasis on topical authority and topical authority content. Meaning, the small $100 million company, through a company like ours, can get into our authority stack and begin building hundreds and hundreds of people. And we're not talking just chat GPT blogs, guys.
No. Real
We're
pages.
talking quality thought leadership through interviews, AI interviews,
Yeah.
and all this stuff. So, interestingly enough, the search results are better. We've talked about that in other episodes. I did see a stat. Most AI searches are 47 words on average,
Yeah. I've seen
as
that too.
opposed to 10 on Google.
Well,
Meaning,
Google, actually, I've been seeing Google's 3.4 is the average amount of words. That's a stat I've
yeah,
seen for a
I'm
while.
talking if they're doing like a long tail,
Yeah, true
search.
long tail. Yeah,
Yeah, true long tail, right? It's 10
yeah,
to a 47, meaning smart executives and business people are, and everybody, but really the smart people are utilizing it as a
yeah,
tool to get exactly what they're looking for, highly specific information. So for you guys out there, one thing that we noticed with one of my clients is, we can see search data and everything else, is that some of the search queries were things like commercial electrician with an ENR rating below with a specialty in
yep,
located at,
yep,
provide me a list and tell me why.
yeah. Well, and
And
that's
because we've been building all this authority for this customer, they come up as one of those options along with some other competitors. And then there's
yeah,
a summary from from the AI search as to why. And do they check all the boxes and and all that. So I mean, that type of search cuts down research significantly for people.
hmm
It's giving you great summaries, it's cleaner and all that. So
yeah.
people are going to jump on this AI browser situation. I mean, they're just
Well,
going to.
and this goes by the stat we shared a couple of episodes ago was the value of the searcher when they come through AI is over 4 times greater because think about how specific that is. If somebody comes to your site that searched
You just
that,
narrowed down a
they
ton of
they've
a ton of
they've
contractors.
shortlisted you. You
Yes,
know, they've shortlisted 3 or 4 firms maybe
that's right.
that says I want these people, and man, that's what almost every contractor wants. They're tired of these big bids with 20 bidders and all this stuff, and essentially
Hmm.
low bid win. No, we want to get shortlisted. Well, let's make it so we can get shortlisted. Otherwise, you're just not in the fight. Like literally, if you're not
Hmm.
optimizing for used to be Google and now it's for AI. If you're not optimizing for these super specific key terms, you don't exist. They don't know you exist.
That's right. And like I
So,
said, we don't. I mean, OpenAI, as a company, they can do whatever they want. They don't
correct.
have to put the heavy emphasis on backlinks. It could be a part
No,
of it.
but
They're determining their own algorithm as we
correct.
speak.
Well, and
And
we've seen some nuances between ChatGPT and Gemini and Perplexity and Claude. They
sure,
all have their kind of different ones. Some like ChatGPT does really like press mentions, like press releases and things like best place to
hmm
work because it builds credibility for them.
hmm
Versus some of the other ones like Claude doesn't care about that as much. They care more about like topical authority and more authorship. So
yeah,
we still are kind of covering the broad, but the key thing is we're trying to put a horse in that race. And one of the things we can do is you're talking about getting very specific. I use a kind of a different analogy. Is like there's the popular term in construction is we don't want to go boil the ocean because it's not going to work. So
right,
let's stop trying to beat the mega contractors on the open playing field. Let's shrink it. So we go from a big ocean to a pond. Let's be the kingfish
Yep.
You know, that big fish in that pond, that one that's like the urban, like the local legend, that big fish no one's ever caught, like
Hmm.
versus that same fish in the oceans, nothing.
Yeah, they're
Like,
gonna get
you know,
toast.
it's getting eaten by 20 other fish, you know.
Freaking orchid.
Um, so think about that. So shrink that in. And so sometimes it's just little things like, you know, one of these suggestions I have a lot of clients is like, look, own the suburbs. You
Yeah.
think about it, like if you're in the Woodlands or the
Hmm.
Sugarland out of Houston, be the contractor for that. If you're in Naperville, Chicago, that's an hour away from Chicago.
Hmm.
Why are you optimizing for Chicago? Optimize for Naperville. Well, the other cool thing is then you're getting more projects in Naperville that has less travel and less headaches and less parking
Yeah.
costs. And like, so
One of my
like,
roofing clients, they had like, I don't know, close to 30 locations with physical buildings, right? They were
yes,
also in the business of buying the real estate. That was one of their
yeah,
strategies, in these. But what they did is like if they were servicing Fort Worth, they would buy their building in Watauga, just
yeah,
north. I mean, it's literally a mile. Like you can see downtown. It's a
correct.
mile away. They're getting the benefit of cheaper real estate, less traffic, their SEO and
Yeah,
local mapping and local authority still reaches all of Fort Worth and everything else. But I mean, let's be real. Watauga and the surrounding suburbs around them have 100,000 people living there,
correct.
right?
Well,
It's a
and
lot
that's the
of
thing.
roofs.
And I mean, there's some suburbs, like I live in the suburbs of New Orleans. I can drive downtown in 10 minutes. But there's some suburbs, like I was saying, Naperville, Chicago is an hour away or more. Well, do you really want that much work downtown Chicago? Like, let's work in Naperville. Naperville is its own town, like or
Hmm.
its own city,
Hmm.
and a lot of these other, suburbs have become their kind of own entities.
Hmm.
You even see this out in like Southern California. Like I've seen people say, "Well, we want to optimize for Los Angeles." I'm like, "But you're in Long Beach. Why don't you just optimize for Long Beach?" Well, there's no work here. Have you looked how much work's there? Like you're
Right.
losing it because no one knows you're actually here, and you can
Hmm.
still play both games. Like when you list your office,
Hmm.
don't list Houston, Texas. List Sugarland, Texas, and maybe put in parentheses Houston. You know,
Yeah.
the
Right.
the search engines are getting smarter. People
Hmm.
are smart. But, they're realizing, hey, that's really good. And years ago, I remember winning business. This is how old I am, and I know you'll appreciate this because I live across the river from New Orleans, and my
Hmm.
company was there. They're like, "Oh, you're on the West Bank in New Orleans," and they found me in a phone book, and they knew my address was a West Bank address, and they're like, "I want to work with a West Bank company." And for other people, like, I don't want to work with a West Bank company. So, like,
Hmm.
there is some of that, but I remember the people were looking for that. So, like,
Yeah.
we were still in New Orleans proper, but we are just across the river. So we're still in the same parish, but we call it, county really. But
Hmm.
it, but people were choosing us because we were local to them, and they knew
That's
that it
right.
had a different flavor. Just ease of work is what some of them were saying. Like I know I could get to you really quick.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
so those little things are all about optimization, and just let's take that big ocean that the mega contractors have to fight in because many of them are working across the country, if not even around the world, and they're trying to recruit people around the world. Well, let's just own our little space.
Hmm.
Most 100 million contractors are local or regional. Let's own that region.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so, how do you own that? It's something like making sure that you put your address, if you're actually there. But even like little things like where are your projects located? List Naperville, list um, Sugarland and the Woodlands and things like that, or Long Beach. Whatever the examples are, because what's going to happen with the big mega firms, even if the project is in the woodlands of Texas, they're going to list Houston
Right.
because that's the recognizable term for their big international
Sure.
audience.
Sure.
So they're essentially hurting themselves by doing that because they don't want to optimize for every little region. They could
Hmm.
potentially do a really good model, but man, that would be it also hurts long term because it's just not
Hmm.
their strategy. But the other thing is like just so your project pages are there, your home office, but build out news post that says, "Hey, we did this." Like one of the biggest things I tell my clients, like just become a steward in the community, get active. Like if you're in the
Hmm.
community, be a good business person and do stuff. Like do the can
Yeah.
drives, do the ribbon cuttings with the chamber, you know, do the habitat, whatever you guys want to do. Just be active and then put that as a news post, and it's just going to organically show what you're doing. And guess what?
Hmm.
That really helps with recruiting because they find you, but also, like, oh, that's a cool company. Look what they're doing. They just did a charity walk.
Hmm.
That's a charity I care about. Or it's all these things. And even putting up project milestones on the website. We talked a few episodes ago, like showing projects get built on your website essentially through milestones. You're going to keep using those keywords that are just
Hmm.
organic and they're authentic. And that's one of the things I think is people are missing about AI. It's actually making the web more transparent.
Yeah.
That big long tail you just said was like two sentences worth of search, but it's because they know the specifics
They
they're
want to get
looking for.
shortlisted.
and you're getting transparent with what that is. So this is why
Yeah,
we need to
why
put out
why
more
talk to
thought.
why talk to five different firms that don't
Correct.
match your criteria when you can shortlist it and go,
Yes, if
okay.
you already know that criteria, then great. There's some firms that don't. Like I've got a client that does really well in the industrial space with essentially non-construction savvy contacts.
Hmm.
In their world, a lot of the contacts are, they're facility engineers. Like, oh yeah, you're going to project manage that new building for us. Um, they don't. They're engineers. They get what's going on, but that's not they're chemical engineers or something like that. So one
Hmm.
of the things we've done with them, and part of their story brand, is they're the guide. They're literally the guide for industrial construction building projects. Like,
Hmm.
and that's a big piece for them because most of their buyers are not that savvy. And one of the things we found is if we just say, look, we have the processes, we have the ways we can do that. So we talk about that. It's very organic versus some of their other competitors, like, no, we like working with people that are developers that are pros.
Hmm.
And guess what else it does? You get better retention for both employees and clients. And just everything kind of just works better because we're trying to find people that are like minded. Like
Yeah,
it's weird how all this keeps going back full circle. Knowing who you are, ideal client profile,
visibility.
brand personality. It always comes back full circle on that. So it's just
Yeah, one thing we talk about on every one of these episodes, and we always circle back to it, and how David actually can, face Goliath. And this is just a super important one,
yeah,
is the talent acquisition side. Let's just scrape everything about business development, leads,
yeah,
growth, and all that. Let's just take all that off the table. Let's assume, like a
yeah,
lot of construction leaders think, nobody's going to shop for a building online, right? We heard that last week. We
sure,
covered that last week, which is completely false, by the way, guys. Go back and listen to last week's episode.
yeah,
We have all kinds of data to prove that's not true. But let's just assume. Let's assume you're in the mindset. You're out there listening. You're like rolling your eyes, like nobody's going to shop for construction work on a website, but workers do, and
yeah,
especially the skilled workers. And where David can really get a leg up is having a really strong presence online, lots of topical authority when somebody is doing a very specific search. So again, now we've got, let's say, a senior estimator. Okay. They've got their preferences. They've been in the industry 20 years. They know the type of company they want to work for. So
yeah,
they sit down and say, you know, I'm looking for plumbing contractor, commercial. I want it to be a company of 150 or less, right? With
hmm,
these, you know, this type of traditional, this traditionally is their type of work that they're involved in, and everything else. Because this guy's like, I know where I'm comfortable. I
yeah,
know, right? Now you would say, if somebody's been at 20 years, they know everybody. This could be true. Okay. However, maybe not. Some people just have a career and they're not sitting looking at everybody. Number one. Number two, you're also forgetting the people that are relocating,
yeah,
and they don't know everybody in your particular area. And now you've got a rock star that you're going to miss out on,
yeah,
who just did a very long tail specific search. And there was a group that was shortlisted and they
yeah,
got that person's resume. You didn't. And so if you're worried about the talent shortage that's coming and everything else,
yeah,
we've talked about this on previous episodes. The skilled guys are they're done with job boards. Those are dying.
yeah,
Okay, those are going away. They're dying. They're not doing what they're supposed to do, and people are just deciding to go direct, like we've talked about. So
yeah,
David can really get a leg up on some of the best talent out there,
yeah.
and
No,
I
I
mean that should
no,
be on everybody's. That should be on the tip of everybody's tongue right now. Is spending
yeah,
between now and 2030, literally figuring out how they're going to dominate their authority
yeah.
in their space so that they can have a pipeline of quality workers.
Well, it's interesting to talk about the everyone knows everybody. And I had this conversation this morning.
I hear it
I
all
was
the
just
time.
I was at a industry event, and I was talking to another. It was an architect marketer I know, and I know her husband was in the trades, and I was, how's it going and stuff. And I said, oh yeah, my husband just changed jobs, and she literally said he made a comment that he knows everyone and everything, but he decided I'm going to go to ChatGPT and just see what it says. And he said I went back with fresh eyes and relooked at these companies, and it recommended a company he'd never heard of. It's not the one he
There
ended
you
up
go.
hiring, but it actually went back to one of his old companies that he worked at 20 years ago because shit's changed in 20 years.
Yeah.
There's a new owner. The owner retired.
Yeah.
His kid's running it. Like the company's
Right.
evolved a lot, and all the
Right.
problems he had, the reason he left 20 years ago,
Might be
are
gone.
essentially been fixed. So
Yeah.
because there's a whole new regime in the place now. So
That's right.
he's mid career. He's in his mid 40s, mid 50s, based on what times I've met him. Um, and he literally was like, "Yeah, I know everyone, but do I really?" And he's taking a step back. I can't imagine he's the only one ever doing this. Like,
Of
you
course
know,
he's not.
I know he's not. I'm
No,
just,
of course he's not. And man, that's what I'm saying. Savvy people are
yeah,
utilizing, these tools now to get extremely specific. You can do those types of searches on Google and you just don't get the same results. You just don't.
yeah,
You get a curated list that feels more commercial and spammy than
yeah,
from an AI assistant, right? So again, let's just take leads, business growth, everything off the table. I mean, again, that's not the case, but even if you're in that mindset, you should be
yeah,
heavily, heavily, heavily looking into the talent acquisition side because it's already bad. It's going to get World War Five bad here
yeah,
in the next coming years. And
yeah,
so getting ahead of that curve, attracting the best talent, attracting the A players, that creates growth.
yeah. Well, I 100% agree with you. And talent acquisition is definitely part of something I talk with all my clients. Whether I got a couple clients on like 15 people, and I've got clients that are a few hundred people, and it's through the bigger ones are having bigger issues trying to attract them more nationally.
Hmm.
So it is something we're talking about, and it's interesting as some of them I'm working on like 26 strategies and budgets and all that, and one of them was really like we need to be pushing at more thought leadership, and they're literally we don't need that, we need talent acquisition. I'm like, it's gonna help
That's
with that,
that's
guys. It's gonna help a lot with that. So when I
a
pulled some
lot.
research and like here, cool, it's like you can listen to this podcast that we recorded just about that. But like
I mean,
it's one of these,
if I'm looking for work and
yeah,
I'm going to, ChatGPT or, one of them and I'm looking for work, trust me, I'm going to be real specific of what
yes,
I like to do, the type of work I like to do and enjoy
well,
doing, the type of company that can provide that for me. And then
yeah,
I'm going and I'm researching their websites. I'm trying to figure out, what their culture's like,
yeah,
who are they? And then if they've got tons of high quality thought leadership, I'm like, smart company.
yes.
I want to go work for them.
We want to find like-minded people. Yeah, and so I wanted to bring back a little bit of you're talking about people that want to build something. I think there's another way of building the smaller pond, around you, and it's part prospecting, sales and talent acquisition. Like I think too many times people think too broad. They think, I'm going to optimize for healthcare. Okay, well, let's not just search for healthcare contractor. Let's go even Houston. If we get rid of the suburb idea, I just talked about it, like Houston healthcare contractor, healthcare
Hmm.
construction company, whatever. But what if you took it a step further and went Houston construction medical office buildings or MOBs or
Hmm.
urgent care builders or like start getting more specific
Hmm.
and getting into your craft. And this is how companies can sometimes take a niche that was happening organically and then dive into it harder. Like that's how I got into construction. I didn't wake up one day and say, I'm going to go after construction companies. I got in with one who led me to three, who led me to five, and then I was like, oh shit, there's something here. And I went after it.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
so you could do the same thing and get targeted and just keep, you don't have to say, I'm going to stop working for everyone, but build a couple landing pages for your website that say, hey, we do healthcare, but these are the type of healthcare things that are subsets of that. That makes sense. Because healthcare, you build giant hospitals, you renovate
Hmm.
hospitals, or you talking about medical office, you're talking about dentist office. Like there's a big gamut when we say healthcare. There's a big gamut. We say, even education. Are you doing K-12 or are you doing universities? Like,
Hmm.
there's a lot of things. Are you doing training centers? Like it's weird to see is how companies
Well,
sometimes get
even
too broad. They're
yeah,
scared to be they're scared to miss out on something. And I'm like, okay, we'll still be that on your project page, but man, dig into that landing page and just
hmm
narrow it in.
yeah, and on like the talent acquisition side,
Totally.
let's go to beginners. Let's go to the green guys, the guys just starting out and they're curious about a
Yeah.
potential career field, right? They're probably going to sit down and type in something like what's more lucrative to work for, a residential electrician or a commercial electrician? Okay, that's that's just a starting point for them to start their research.
Yeah.
Well, if you have thought leadership material on your website that literally talks about that and describes the differences between and the advantages and pros and cons and everything else, that person landed on your
Yeah.
website, you provided them insight. Now
Hmm.
they're like, you know what? There's a careers page.
Yes, there
Oh
is.
wait,
And
hey
it's,
wait, they're looking for entry level, right?
oh,
I'm gonna go ahead
it's
and
funny.
apply. Well, now
I
you
saw
got.
a, I
It's
saw a
like,
video just the other day with that exact that content was this. They were talking about a new, essentially a rookie on the job site, and they're making more fun of the generations. The kid didn't know how to do anything, all that stuff, because he had an online degree and or online certificate. And so at the very end of it, he's like, "Wait, I can be an electrician. I can do whatever the hell I want, and not clean up." He's like, "I went back to my online school to get my electrical certificate." It's like, okay, anyone who's been in construction long enough knows that's not really how this works. But it was interesting. They essentially juxtaposed him as a day laborer, essentially,
mhm,
or
mhm,
just a general carpenter versus
mhm.
an electrician. And we see this in software all the time. Comparison websites or pages are really popular because it
Sure.
educates, it opens up that transparency. And ChatGPT loves comparison pages.
Comparison pages,
You could
lists,
do that just on a very simple thing like Ryan was saying, residential versus commercial electrician, or
and what are the
fill in
pros
the
and cons
blank.
for working for
Yeah.
one or the other?
What's the difference? Union
Put
versus
something out
non-union.
there. Yeah, union
Like,
versus non-union.
yeah, give out that education and at least start controlling the narrative.
Oh,
Even
wait a minute. What's
what?
better to work for? Large, behemoth, giant company or the smaller company?
Correct.
Now,
Yes.
now
Family
David's
owned.
got an opportunity to say, look,
Yeah.
these are the pros and cons for both.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but you get to tell your story, you get to put your
Correct.
flavor, and you get to entice that person to come through,
I,
as an applicant.
I will warn you, you want to try to be a little agnostic is the word I'm trying to
Mhm.
use there. That because you don't want to be so biased people don't believe it.
Sure,
So
sure.
like I set up some
Well, I'm
comparison
saying you get to
websites.
put a little bit of your flavor in it,
Oh, totally.
but you don't
You
get to.
do,
You
and you
can't
can
have
kind
an
of
ad.
you can pick and choose. Like
Mhm.
one of my old clients was a construction robot company. So one of the things we did was just we a couple of our competitors. We put here's the side by side comparison because everyone was going. I mean, some of it was just literally like we were American made, so it was in inches, and they were European made, and they were in metric. It's like we literally just put that side by side just to help people
Mhm.
understand the size difference and some of the capabilities. There was actually one category we omitted because they destroyed us on that one category, and it
Mhm.
was actually a design decision. And we're like, that doesn't matter. They're claiming it matters, and we knew it doesn't matter, and we essentially didn't want to persuade someone to go there because it's actually something that didn't matter in the field because we've been in that field for many years, and this was a
Mhm.
startup.
Mhm.
So, but we controlled that. We had people emailing us, calling us, making even comments on their orders. We actually did online orders to this company as well as the normal sales revenue or sales pipeline. People would put in the comment of the order, "Thank you for the comparison page. It helped clear up things, and I actually made a decision." Like,
Yep,
and I
100%.
knew we lost a few sales because there are a few applications that theirs was better at than
Well, I
ours.
mean, you were probably going to lose it
But
anyways.
yeah, we would have, or we would have had a very upset customer that would have been,
Right.
"Oh, I
That's
bought
what I'm
this one
saying.
and not that one." But
I should have
we
gone with the other guys.
correct, but we definitely won more than we lost because we are just upfront and transparent. So you could totally do that with all types of different ways of your own construction company. Why this is better, why that's not. And
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome. That and lists, anything, top
yes.
10 lists. Great stats and great citations to back up the stats are always good. It
Well,
also
even
has
better, your own stats. That's something we've seen
Mhm,
ourselves with, the stats we started this whole episode with. Those are
mhm,
stats that only we have.
mhm.
And we're seeing a shift of ourselves. If you go to ChatGPT and ask for construction marketing firms, it, a year ago it would have said, "Here's your top five." And we were generally in the ranking because of our niche. This is what we do. We have a lot of topical authority on construction marketing.
Mhm.
But now it's saying we're recommending alt CMO because of this research, and
Correct.
sometimes even because of our fractional CMO model. Like I've
Correct.
seen it go both, but every time it's still now saying because of their research, because they have exclusive research,
Mhm.
they're the best one to recommend. And it's like, guys, we're leapfrogging from firms that have been around 20 years.
Oh yeah, we've been around a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, and they've been
So
around 20, and we're
yeah,
leapfrogging them. And part of that is you kind of think the logic of AI, they're trying to make a logical reason. All these companies essentially look the same. They all have experience. They all have blog posts. They all have projects. Some all have credentials. And just
Hmm.
I've got a lot of letters behind my name. So does some of the other firms. Like,
Hmm.
well, okay, well, what makes them different? But now that we started putting out the term as primary research because we did it ourselves, that's the one way that we can actually help elevate yourselves even in
Hmm.
listings. So,
Hmm.
and oh, we put all that out for free, and that's the conversation I've had with a few people now. I was like, well, why'd you give out? I thought people would gate that, like hide it. You need to put in an email. Like we want people to see it. We want people to know what's going on, and then we're going to use it. We use it in our blog post. One of the blog posts that was kind of inspired this episode was using some of that research, and we tied in some of the other research about how fresh your website needs to be and all that stuff. So
Hmm.
like we're incorporating that in all of our other thought leadership. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. So in kind of conclusion, what if you were to tell one of the listeners right now, okay, let's say they're in that,
yeah,
50 to 100 million or, whatever. Or they just have a marketing budget. Hey, if you're out there and you got 5 million and you have a marketing budget, you
yeah,
can get to that 50 to 100 million, you know, just like anybody else. Right. But,
yes, yeah,
if you were to tell them like the first three things they should probably do if they haven't been doing much of anything. Let's just assume they're
yeah,
traditional. They've got a website. It's been static. It's just been sitting there.
yeah,
They do the traditional, birthdays and anniversaries on social, but that's about it, right? What's
yeah.
the first two or three things that you would tell them if they are listening to us and saying, where do I start? Like, what do I
Yeah.
do?
First thing you got to do is identify what the best projects that you want. The ideal client profile, you can call it ideal project profile. Like, what are the kind of projects that your team does well, you like doing, it makes you feel good, you have less issues,
And
whatever. Like,
score them.
score that. Like,
Yeah.
we can give you guys some, maybe that's in a whole other episode. How do you score your clients? Figure out
Right.
you kind of reverse engineer your ideal client profile. Like, once you figure that out, now you start building content for them.
For
So
them.
you start, generally we call it niching down.
Hmm.
You know, figure out what fits that model. Like,
Hmm.
it's I was at a general contractor this morning and talking, like, they have a huge prefabrication shop. So they love working with architects that will incorporate what they can prefabricate into their designs because it helps everyone win.
Right.
The architect has better control and can put their designs out. The contractor has more control of the entire project and the whole life cycle. They're vertically integrated, and the client generally can get a project faster and cheaper.
Yeah.
But they don't do well with architects that don't like that whole process, don't really want to play ball. So it's for them, ideal client profile is everything because there's just so much friction otherwise because they're so vertically integrated.
Hmm.
So that they're a bigger contractor that I'm talking about, but like they weren't 10 years ago, they were pretty small and they've
Yeah.
just grown and really invested in this vertical integration. So,
Hmm.
but find out what makes you guys happy, what makes you profitable, and then own into it. Like I
Hmm.
got a client that hired us 2 years ago because they were doing everything and now they're just doing exteriors.
Yeah.
They found exteriors is where they make money. They like doing it. And it works better for
Niche
them.
down, corner of the market, and
It,
margins are
yeah.
better, and business is
And now we're
better.
talking
And
about, okay, what do you consider an exterior is a big part of our conversation.
hmm.
It was just roofing and siding. Now, okay, what about, do we do metal siding? Do we do stonework? Do we do windows? Like they're trying to figure, kind of flesh all that out and figure
Hmm.
out, okay, can they vertically integrate just on exteriors? Is
Hmm.
kind of is similar conversation. So like, but figure out where the money is or what makes you happy because sometimes generally happy generally makes you more money and vice versa. So, and then just cater to that. That's kind of the conversation. Like, we want to shrink to a smaller pond. Do you want to go to the focus on the suburbs? Do you want to focus on medical office buildings instead of hospitals? Like
Hmm.
whatever that is, just kind of get transparent. Tell people this is what we want and start being that thought leader. Start building out the blogs and social media. And those people will find you. And also, if you want to reach out to them, you have a reason to reach out to them. I have a reason to contact almost anyone in construction, the owner, the CFO, the CEO, the marketer, and say, hey, I built this report. It's with SEO benchmarks that would be relevant to you.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
can leave it at that
Yeah.
and walk away. And if they're interested and this is something relevant to them and something they care about, they'll come to us and hey, we'll have a sales conversation. But if they're not, it's this goodwill we put out there.
Yeah.
But
I was gonna
man,
say,
people,
my top three, if you're just listening to this, want to get started, is number one, call us. Well,
yeah,
because
no, I agree.
you're probably gonna need some guidance in the ICP. You're definitely gonna need some competitor analysis and audits, market research, and all of that, right? Like getting the full picture and understanding where your dollars are best spent, where the opportunities are, and then really dialing in on those
Yeah.
opportunities so that things are not, spray and pray, they're
Yeah.
sniper. And, that's really how you want to approach this is get with some people that do this for a living, that can handle all of that for you and get you, get you really in the tunnel, so to speak, as opposed to just like, where do I go in this mix master? Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know which turn to take. No, let's just go through the tunnel,
Yeah.
right? And let's get from point A to point B. That's number one. Number two, if you're not focused on talent acquisition, and you don't have a real plan for that, we've got a full suite of products called the Authority Stack that's going to help you with talent acquisition, unlike anything else. I'd start there because you need to build up that workforce, and you
Yeah.
need strategies to keep them underneath your wing, even if you didn't hire them. Nurturing campaigns and stuff like that, vitally important as the years go by and job boards begin to dwindle, and everything else. And then third, I would say look at, you can even talk to us about that. Look at your tech stack.
Yeah.
What are you building out for, your applicant tracking system, which are now being termed and changed to TIP, and that's a whole other thing. These are talent implemented platforms. They're more advanced. AI is
Yeah.
involved, and everything else. What are you using for your distribution of your social? How are you gathering your analytics? How are you understanding where your customers and applicants are coming from, and all of that? So, those three things is where I would start, and we can help you with all of that. So we're at
Yeah.
altcmo.net, and please subscribe to our Substack. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. That helps us out, helps you out. You get alerts when we post a new episode. And if you enjoyed it, leave a comment, or if you have questions, you can comment on it. We'll answer you,
Yep.
and all that. And we appreciate you guys listening. Perryn, you got anything else?
No, man. I think we've set our piece for this week.
I agree. All right. Thanks, everybody out there. And reach out if you need help. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Brand awareness when you need